What's up guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to go over this trippy rainbow explosion effect used in a new video by Nitetive. This is how the effect looks that we're going to go over today. Alright, so once we're ready, let's jump right into After Effects. So this is the clip we're going to use today. What you first want to do is duplicate your layer twice by selecting it and pressing Ctrl D twice. Let's rename the top one to body and then the middle one to head. So we're going to have the explosion between the body and the main clip. So let's first start off by rotoscoping the body out. Just double click your layer and go to the roto brush tool up here and just mark out your subject. If you don't know how to roto brush, there's plenty of tutorials online, but the basics are just holding Alt removes what you selected like this, and just left clicking normally and makes it green and selects what you want. So just go frame by frame and rotoscope the body out. So once you're done rotoscoping the body, let's move on to the head. So what we basically want to do is have a circular object. So a head is perfect for this because we want it to be circular because it's going to be the best looking for our rainbow explosion later. So just select his head and try to get a circular rotoscope throughout the clip. I forgot to mention, make sure you click the freeze button at the end once you're done roto brushing to lock the roto brush into place. So now you can see at the bottom we have just our normal clip. If I just hide the top ones, you can see just a normal clip right here. And then you can see that we have just the head right here. And now here we have just the body. Now you can go into your roto brush settings and just turn up the feather a tiny bit and just mess with the shift edge so that it looks the best. You can also use motion blur and decontaminate edge colors. It's gonna make it look a little bit better. So this looks fine right here, and you can do the same thing with your head. So now what you want to do is go to your head layer and find the colorama effect and drag that onto your head layer. And just make sure you hide these so that you can see that what you're working with. Go on to output cycle, and now you can play around with these colors to get the color of the explosion that you want. So the basics of it are that there's a lot of presets here that you can use. But I like to use the hue cycle and play around with this because we want the rainbow looking effects in our clip. So what you can do is double click these to change the colors, and you can also just drag these out and you can make these disappear to get rid of a color that you don't want. So just play around with these colors and get something that you think looks cool. So after playing around, I figured out I wanted to have more of a pink vibe in my head. So this is how my colors are looking right now. You can copy these if you want to yourself. Now what you want to do is add the distort chroma effect to your head, and at first it's going to look like this. So first of all, you want to play around with your blur lens, just turn it up a bit. You want it to look like a circle with a lot of colors in it. So I'm going to turn mine up to about 470, and then you want to play with the keyframes on the amount. I'm going to have mine start pretty low, so at about 0.16, and then make a keyframe right here, and then go towards the end of the clip and have it about 0.67 looks good. So now it looks kind of like this. Just press the U button right here to see your keyframes if you want to change these later. So I'm going to play around with the rotate warp direction. I'm going to have it at about 17 in the beginning and then turn it down to 0 at the end. It's going to create some more motion in your circle. Now let's add some glow to our circle. Just drag that onto it. I'm going to turn my glow width up quite a bit to about 140 and then mess around with the threshold. So I turn it up a bit, and then it's kind of too bright right now. I'm going to turn it down to about 1.5. And then in order to get the circle to be empty on the inside when we're going to have it expand, you want to make sure that you play around with the warp red and the warp blue. So just turn these up a bit and just play around. I'm going to have my warp red at about 5.4 or 5.5-ish. And then I'll play around with the warp red, and then I'll play around with the warp blue. Now you can see that it goes outwards and we get the effect that we want. So now you can see, because we keyframe the amount, it kind of expands outwards like this, which is what we want to happen. And then to finish it off, we want to add some turbulent displays to create a more wavy effect to our circle. I'm going to turn it down a tiny bit so we get more waves. I'm going to turn the size down to 15. And then turn the amount up a tiny bit to about 60. Now you can enable our two other clips to see what it looks like. So I might just start at about 120 and then keyframe that. I don't want the explosion to last throughout the whole clip. So I'm gonna keyframe some opacity keyframes. I'm gonna go about halfway and then have it at 0. Go a bit more forward and have it at 100. So I got lucky with my rotoscope, so I have a little bit of a flame towards the end. You can see it sticks about right above his head. So I want it to scale it up so that we can see this tiny pink fire behind his head. I think that looks pretty cool. So your effect is always gonna look different depending on the clip, and I just got lucky with how mine was, so it has a little bit of a flame. So I just turned it up to about 450. This is how it looks. So that looks pretty cool. If you want to take it a step further, you can pre-compose all your clips and then make a marker to where the effect happens. Just press the start button on your numpad. And now we can add some glow to our clip. Just drag that on. Let's just keyframe it to have it 0 right before it happens, and then have it go to 2. And then once it's over, keyframe it back down to 0. So 2 is a little bit too much, and we can have it last a little bit shorter. Let's have it about 1.5. Let's see how that looks. That looks a little bit better. Let's also add some shake. Just drag some shake onto your clip. Go to the beginning and keyframe it at 0 before it starts. And then turn it up to 1. And then have it go down to 0 towards the end of the clip. You can see we have these lines, so we can just keyframe the scale a tiny bit so we don't see those. And then keyframe them back down to 100 towards the end. Now to top it all off, add some optics compensation. Make sure you click the reverse lens distortion button and then keyframe the field of view before it happens. Have it at 0, and then when it happens, turn it up a tiny bit. I'm gonna have mine at about 100, so we can see the camera goes inwards towards us. And then when it's over, you can turn it down to 0. So this is how it looks. And now you're pretty much done, guys. This is how the final effect looks. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe below to see more tutorials like this. Leave a comment what effect you want to see next. And I'll see you in another video.